Chapter 2. Don't you hate it when a kickball hits Uranus? Somewhere in the deepest, darkest reaches of our solar system, a wet rubber kickball was zooming through space. None of us top scientists could explain where it had come from or why it was racing toward Uranus, but it had been on its present course for the past 5.5 weeks and nothing could stop it. The kickball sped closer and closer to a small cluster of porcelain monstrosities that lay together in a heap on the surface of the icy, ridiculously named planet. Behind them, guarding them all with a keen, observant eye, was a robotics sentinel known as the Incredible Roboplugger. Faster and faster, the kickball whizzed toward them until finally the force of the red rubber ball knocked the head right off of the Incredible Roboplugger. The decapitated defender jutted forward slightly as photoatomic chance self-regulating fatal fracturelation taken said symptomatic juice drizzled out from its mangled neck hole and oozed slowly downward into the gaping mouth of the Turbo Toilets 2000. This was unfortunate because, as any robotics engineer will tell you, it's very important to keep photoatomic chance smoke-liberating fatty fragilizing cytoplasmic juice as far away from evil robots as possible. You certainly don't want to get even a drop of it in their mouths, for it will only make them come to life and give them an unquenchable appetite for destruction, which, sadly, is exactly what happened that bleak night on the terribly gassy surface of Uranus. The Turbo Toilets 2000's bulbous, bloodshot eyes smacked open and wobbled around wildly. His massive left arm quicked up and rubbed the painful, throbbing side of his porcelain lid. "Where the heck am I?" he said, looking around at his fallen allies. Clumsily, he squeezed to his feet, dusted himself off, and beheld the headless mass that once was the Incredible Roboplugger. Then it's all come back to him. The battle, the defeat, the humiliation. It wasn't long before the Turbo Toilets 2000 had pieced together every single event that had brought him and his army of talking toilets to this frozen, frustrating fate. "I must retaliate," he said, clenching his razor-sharp porcelain teeth together tightly. "I must avenge my fallen allies." Luckily for him, he was a robot, which means that he knew a thing or two about mechanical engineering. It didn't take long for him to disassemble the Roboplugger, rearrange the pieces, and create a flying robot scooter from the recycled parts of his arch-enemy. The only thing left to do was to travel the long journey from Uranus to Earth. It was a voyage that would take him nearly 3 whole pages to complete. And when he arrived at, he would wage a war against the good people of Earth, a war that would threaten the very foundation of our planet. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Chapter 3. Melvin's Moments of Mirth. Remember back in chapter 1 where we found out that Melvin had a whole year's worth of reasons why he needed to bring George and Howard and Captain Underpants back to the present? Well, in case you're wondering what's happened during the year, here's what's happened during that year. Immediately after our heroes disappeared on their prehistoric journey, the cops started looking for George, Howard, and Mr. Crow. Wanted posters appeared in post offices across America. But since George and Howard and Mr. Crow had traveled back in time to the Gracious Spirit, they were nowhere to be found. Everyone assumed that George, Howard, and Mr. Crow had robbed a bank and were hiding out in Canada or Mexico somewhere, and it wasn't too long before the cops gave up and started looking for them. This was sad news for most of the residents of Picure, Ohio, but not for Melvin Sneedley. Melvin was finally happy for the first time in years. No George and no Howard means no pranks, no comics, and best of all, no interruptions. Melvin could finally go about conducting his scientific experiments, creating rare new inventions, and indulging his beautiful mind in peace. But all that happiness only lasted for about 2 weeks because, as we mentioned earlier, you know who showed up. Chapter 4: He Who Must Not Be Flushed. The Turbo Toilet 2000 entered the Earth's atmosphere in a blazing fireball from the sky. His Wildcat scooter roared over the rooftops of the small Ohio town as the porcelain predator bellowed out an eardrum-crushing taunt. Then came the distraction. Buildings collapsed. City buses were thrown through skyscraper windows. Fires raged out of control. The chaos and devastation crippled the town, sent residents running for their lives, and annoyed the heck out of one little boy. Melvin Sneedley had been trying to get some work done in his bedroom laboratory when the attack began. All he needed was 1 or 2 more hours of uninterrupted silence to complete his experiments, but the terrible work crews outside was really getting on his nerves. Melvin marched over to his bedroom window, poked his head out, and shouted, "Hey! I'm trying to work! You idiots! Be quiet!"